Professor, Department of Arabic, University of Calicut. He's the chair of this session. And also I invite our chief guest and the presenter, Dr. Arish Qamar, Director and co-founder of Datun Works and Private Limited, PhD in Population and Migration Studies.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak on refugee. Today I'm going to present some findings based on my own research, which I did on 3 refugees group in India, and one is Rohingya refugee, the Rohingya Muslims, and Pakistani Hindu refugees, and Afghani Sikh. In this research, I tried to see their persecution when they were in their native country, I mean to Pakistan, Afghanistan or Myanmar, and the process of their migration towards India, and what is the current situation in India. So these are the 3 basic objectives. I collected the data from 3 different states of India. For Rohingya refugee, I collected data from Aligarh. For Afghani Sikh, I collected data from Delhi. And for Pakistani Hindu refugee, I collected data from Jodhpur, Rajasthan. So basically, I only included those refugees who came after 2012 in India. Okay, so I'm starting. So we all know the definition, that what is the definition of the refugee and what United Nations High Commission for Refugees says about the refugees. So basically, UNHRC defined refugee as a person who flee from their native country in fear of life threat, and he is not able to go back to their native country. That is the basic definition. And UNHRC also consider those people also as a refugee whose status is not yet been determined. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, coming to the international laws on refugees. Okay, so there are basic 2 international law. One is that 1951 Convention and 67 Protocol. Both basically give some rights to the refugee all over the world. But unfortunately, India is not part of 1951 Convention nor 1967 Protocol. So we don't buy definition as a country, India. We don't buy this definition of United Nations. That is a very unfortunate thing. Apart from that, there are some human rights, 1984 Human Rights Declaration also, which gives certain rights to the refugee. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so when you will see the history of Indian refugee, which has started from 1947, a major chunk of people migrated to India during the partition, and then lots of recent issues happened in South Asia. The major was the Tibetan issues, which happened in 1951, then Tamilians, then Afghani, then Chakbas, and then Bangladeshi. Currently in India, around 252,000 registered refugees are there, according to United Nations High Commission of Refugees. Next slide, please. Next slide. So I already told you the methodology which I used in this research. Thank you. It's an exploratory research. Purposive sampling I used. I did in-depth interview with 35 refugees of all 3 groups, and apart from that, I did some key informant interview also with the resource person of those groups. Coming to the process of migration. Okay, so when you will see, these 3 refugees basically, when we'll talk about the Rohingya refugee, so the 2012 was the crisis, the first crisis happened in Myanmar. So they migrated to Bangladesh first. And after crossing the border of Myanmar, coming to Bangladesh, they crossed the river called Naf River. Basically, these Rohingya refugees comes from a state called Arakan in Myanmar. So while crossing the river, I mean, there was a situation of havoc happened during that time, and lots of boats got drawn in that river called Naf, and in a single boat around, like, if the capacity of that boat is around 10, so 20-30 people crossed that river. After coming to Bangladesh, they stayed for some days in Cox's Bazar. It's an area where currently around 3-4 lakh Rohingya refugees are staying. From that Cox's Bazar, some of them, not everyone, they came to India while crossing the border, and coming to India, they directly went to Delhi. They applied for refugee status from UNHRC, and then they started getting settled other part of the country. I'm talking about the process of how they came to India. About Pakistani Hindu refugee. So most of the Pakistani Hindu refugee who came on India are on pilgrim visa. They first apply for the pilgrim visa to visit Haridwar or other spiritual places. And after coming to India, they apply for long-term visa in the Indian embassy, and they get visa for 2 years or 3 years, then they get settled here, they live here. Mostly of Pakistani refugee, they came by train. I mean, there is a train called Thar Express which comes every week in Jodhpur from Pakistan. Afghani refugee, so they mostly, the recent phenomena which happened in 2020, so mostly they came directly on the flight in India, and the government of India also helped them to settle in India. These are the areas from where I collected the data. Talking about the history and why this happened. So if you will see the Rohingya refugees, so there are basically what they say that before 1962 they were having all the rights, all the the voting rights and economical and everything. But after 1962, when there was a government in Myanmar, and when that got toppled, the Buddhists, they started discriminating with them, and they said, like, you are not belong to Myanmar, you are not our people, you are migrated from Bangladesh during British period, so you don't belong here. And that was the reason, that was the starting point where this crisis started. About Afghanistan, we all know that the problem started from when USSR invaded Afghanistan. Lots of people migrated. Some people migrated to India, some people migrated to Pakistan. And when these people went back, what these people say, the Sikh Afghani, when the Taliban, when the Taliban formed and the people went back to Afghanistan, they started discriminating and started creating problems for minorities. Pakistan, the migration started 47, but the major thing happened during the 1971 war. India basically captured some part of the Pakistan during the war, that is Mirpur Khas district. It's a district nearby border area, and Mirpur Khas district is completely dominated by the Hindus population. So during that time, lots of Hindu people came to India and they got settled, and that was the process, the starting point of the migration of Hindu in India after the partition. Talking about the driving forces, see, the first crisis happened in Myanmar was in 2012. It's a very unfortunate condition, very unfortunate situation. Allegedly, they say that a girl was raped by some Buddhist girl was raped by some Muslim, and in return they killed around 20 Muslims Jamati, and that was the starting point of the crisis. And then after that, I mean, the state started sponsoring the terrorism there. State started killing the people, and they started, I mean, there was nothing left for them to leave, and they finally they started migrating to India. And the second crisis started in 2017, which was much bigger in scale compared to 2012. What Pakistani say about the problem in their native country is that before Benazir Bhutto there was not a problem. Their situation was quite good. But after the Bhutto government, when the Musharraf government came, they started, creating problems for all the minorities in Pakistan. About the Afghani, similar, I mean, what they say that their relationship was very cordial with other majority Muslims of Afghanistan before this Talibani thing, and they used to live in peace and harmony. But when the fundamental, what they say that the fundamental of the Talibani Talibani people were like to start discriminating on the basis of religion. That's what they said. It's very unfortunate to say that in Myanmar, basically the Muslims were not allowed to pray, and for every occasion like Eid and Bakrid, they used to hide in the jungles and perform their namaz and other thing. Even, I mean, when they go to school, they used to have two names. One is a Muslim name, and other name they used to have a Buddhist name to just hide their identity. So even the mosque, I mean, they were not allowed to make new mosque, or the old mosque were not allowed to redevelop or do reconstruction. Talking about the marriage, it's one of the worst situation in Rohingya, Myanmar, where to get married, people need to get permission from the authority. And in that process of permission, the women and men, I mean, they go for an interview where women, I mean, the authority take interview separately of the woman and then for the male. And in that process, they ask, I mean, some worst question. In one of the case, I was one of the guy from Myanmar, he was narrating that two couple, basically they went through for that marriage interview for 8 hours, and after coming from the interview they committed suicide. And they haven't told anyone that what happened inside, but people were speculating that something fishy was there. So I mean, the religious crisis in Myanmar is worse than all these three refugees group. The Pakistani Hindu, they say that they were forced to, sometimes they are forced to get converted, and the reason is basically they incentivize the conversion for the marriage of girls in Pakistan. So they say that there are some organization which incentivize, and that is the reason, I mean, they are coming to India as they cited. Similarly for the Afghani also, I mean, they were not allowed to do their prayers or other thing or wear turban. For the political crisis in Myanmar, of course, they are not allowed to vote. The reason, they don't consider them Rohingya people as a citizen of Myanmar. And Afghani refugee, I mean, of course, there no democracy from past 4 or 5 decades. The Pakistani is compared to other two refugees group are better in the condition. They have the reservation also in their political system. Okay. Economic crisis, when you will see that among these three refugees group, the most prosperous refugee groups are Rohingya before the migration, because the Arakan district, the complete Arakan district was owned by these Rohingya people, and they have their own houses, own farm, and most of these people were in agriculture. So they used to have all the facilities over there. Compared to other two refugees, the economic condition before coming to India, before the migration, were better than other two. Thank you. Coming to the Pakistani refugee, okay. So the Pakistani Sindhi, basically they belongs to Bhil community, is a ST scheduled tribe of Sindh. So basically they are landless labor of Pakistan. So when they were in Pakistan, they were landless labor, mostly are in agricultural labor, and when they came to India, again they are landless labor. So their economic crisis, the economic condition is somehow similar what they used to have in their native country. Afghani, mostly when they were in Afghanistan, they were in business classes, mostly in spices business. So there also the condition was bit better than the Pakistani refugee. These are the area I collected the data. Language barrier, this is the objective basically I'm talking about here in India, when they came to India. So they haven't faced any language barrier in India. Religious barrier, for Pakistani, basically these people belongs to Bhil community. It's a tribal community. So when they came to India, they started facing discrimination based on the basis of caste. When they were in Pakistan, there was no caste system, there was no caste discrimination. But when they came to India, they started facing caste-based discrimination. Similar with Afghani refugee, the people of India, the Sikh of India, they don't consider them as a pure Sikh. They call them as a Kabuli Sikh, and the style of wearing turban is bit different from the Indian Sikh. For Rohingya refugees, they cited that there is no religious discrimination in India. Almost everyone said that they have a very cordial relationship with native Indians, besides some caste issue and some cultural issue. See, the situation of livelihood of refugees among all three refugees, the worst is in Rohingya compared to Afghani and Pakistani. Talking about the identity, the Rohingya had the card, UNHCR refugee card. Afghani having the UNHCR refugee card, visa, Aadhaar card, etc. Pakistani is not having the refugee card because they are on long-term visa. Here I basically am comparing the situation of Rohingya, all three refugees, in context of their native country. So you can see here the health of Pakistani is better. Myanmar is also better compared to their native country, and Afghanistan is also better. The shelter for the Pakistan is no change, because in Pakistan also they used to live in the camp, and in India also they are living in the camp. For Myanmar is worse. The reason is basically when they were in Myanmar, they used to have their own houses. But when they came to India, now they don't have anything. I mean, just the tent, or sometimes that also been taken by the government. For Afghanistani also it's worse, because when they were in Afghanistan, they used to have their own houses. Education is for the Pakistani, it's better compared to India, compared to Pakistan. For Myanmar also it's better in India compared to their origin country, and for Afghanistan also it's better. Food, the Pakistan is no change. I mean, the food they used to have in Pakistan, the same food they are having in India. But Myanmar it's worst, because when they were in Myanmar, they used to have their own farms, own land, and everything agriculture related. But when they came to India, now they are struggling for these resources. For Afghanistan, again, it's no change. Employment, Pakistani were landless labor in Pakistan also. When they came to India, again they are landless labor. So no change. But Myanmar, because they were in agriculture economy. When they came to India, now they are labor mostly. And again, I mean, not just labor, the people of India are also exploiting their labors. I mean, they're not paying their wages on time. For Afghanistan also, it's worse. The reason is basically they were businessmen in Afghanistan when they came to India. Now they are working on some other shops, or sometimes some other factories. This is basically, I'm comparing among them, among all three refugees, their services in India, how they are getting. So health services, what Pakistani people receiving in India is better, Myanmar is better, and Afghanistan is better. But if you will see the shelter, both things are worst. I mean, for this Myanmar people, basically the Afghani Sikh, they are living in proper settlement in Delhi. The Pakistani also, because the government has allotted some land to them. But for this Rohingya refugee, they have no help from the government, and in the starting some NGOs were helping them, but now even the NGOs are not helping them to get any kind of services or resources. So in this slide you can see that Myanmar is worst in the Myanmar refugee, the Rohingya refugee is worst in all the parameters compared to other two groups. Okay, their health compared to other two groups is worst, their shelter is worst, their education is worst, food is worst, and employment is worst compared to Hindu, Pakistani and Afghani Sikh. So if you'll ask me to conclude this, I mean, how the India and treating their refugees, I will say that there is a two era of refugees in India. The first era was before 90s, before 80s, where the refugees basically used to flaunt their identity. They used to tell people that they belong to a group called refugee. For example, the Tibetan refugee. Till now, the Tibetan refugee, they write their name everywhere. I mean, like Tibetan refugee market, Tibetan refugee shop, Tibetan refugee stores, colony, etc. Same with other refugees groups such as Afghani who came in 1980s. They used to make their Gurudwara as Kabuli Gurudwara. They call it Kabuli Gurudwara. The people of Pakistan, they migrated when they migrated in 1947. The Sindhi people still they flaunt their identity as a Sindhi. They call it Sindhi Pakistani. I mean, we can see the shops like Karachi stores, etc., formed by Sindhi Pakistani. But the problem is now people are not, recognizing their identity. I mean, they're hiding. They started hiding their identity. I mean, all the refugee group. The Rohingya, they started hiding their identity. They're not disclosing it. Similarly, the Pakistani refugee also, they are hiding their identity. and Afghani Sikh also hiding their identity. So we need to see the issue that what change we have created, that the people are started, I mean they are hiding, they are not asserting their identity, they are hiding it. Secondly, I will say that when I interviewed all these three people, all these three group, I felt like the major, the achievement of any human being is not like you having a car, house, job, etc., employment. The biggest achievement of human being or is identity, and that is, identity as a citizen. Citizenship is basically it's a contract. It's a contract between a state and a person of that state. Okay, and the contract says some rights, it's asked for some duties, and these people, they don't have any contract with any state of the world, which means they don't have any identity. They are just human being without any identity. Okay, so the government are doing something. I mean, the problem is we are not a part of 1951 convention or protocol, but as per the fundamental rights, we have something for the refugees. The three fundamental rights are for everyone, whether he is Indian or refugee. But still, because of the political things, so many issues, we are not considering them as a human being. So I would like to conclude this presentation. We'll say that, I mean, the situation is really worst, especially for the Rohingya refugee, and now they are started hiding it. They started hiding their identity, and it's making more worst, because once they will start hiding their identity, they will become illegal, and if they will become illegal, the government can do anything. And I mean, if you'll compare all three refugees group, only Rohingya refugees are the people who got recognition from the United Nations, and they said that most persecuted community of the world is Rohingya, and they issued refugee card to every Rohingya people. Okay, but unfortunately the situation is different in India. So thank you so much. If you have any question, any query, you can ask.
It's a time for an introduction session with our chief guest. So if anyone asks any doubt in this presentation, you can come forward.
Facing the crisis of the recent ethnic, is there any ongoing migrations?
So the ongoing process is basically from mostly from Pakistan, because every 2 years they apply. I mean, thousands of people apply for the pilgrim visa, and every 2 years they came to India. So the Pakistani migrants and the Pakistani refugee, like they are coming every month, every year to India. So that is the ongoing process. Secondly, for Rohingya, I mean, from till 2019 they used to come, they came, but now the government have restricted the border, so now they are not crossing it. Any other question? Uh,
Any other questions?
Government is taking any actions for the wellness of these
I mean, in 2018, 2017, the NCT, the government, the High Court of Delhi, they provided a guidelines to the NCT. NCT is basically the government of Delhi, New Delhi Capital Territory. Okay, so the government of the High Court provided guidelines that you should, provide the rights to other refugees, all the refugees, which is there under the constitution, which is there under the fundamental rights. Okay, you have to provide them education under RT, you have to provide them a freedom and livelihood, etc., health. But for a few years, the government were helping them, the NCT government were helping them, but then again, they started, destroying their camps, and they were forced to migrate some other district from Delhi. So, I mean, of course, there are act called the Citizenship Act, which was amended in 2021 called CA. The government of India amended it and introduced it for the minority of other countries except Muslims. The problem with CA is, I mean, the act, basically the act which provides citizenship. The problem is that you have to claim or prove that the particular person belongs to this particular religion, and religion is a declaration. It's you cannot prove it. It's basically it's a faith or it's a belief. So you cannot prove the religion of someone. It's a declaration. If I say that I am Hindu, you have to write it that I am a Hindu, and you have to accept it that I am Hindu. If I am saying that I am a Muslim, so you have to write or you have to accept it. You cannot, I mean, prove it that I am saying right. In Islam, we say that munafiq is a term we say. Okay, so the problem with CA is that the complete act is designed on the basis of religion. Okay, you can prove anyone gender, you can prove anyone income or caste also, but you cannot prove anyone religion. It's a declaration. Second problem with CA is it's a to take the citizenship of India, you have to give the citizenship of Pakistan. For Hindu Pakistani I'm talking especially, and because these people are on long-term visa, they are not forced migrated, they are applied for the visa, they came to they came to India on a visa, so they have to give their the passport of Pakistan back to the country, their country. Okay, so Pakistan is not going to accept it. Why any country will accept that I am persuading you and you just wanted to take citizenship of other country with this reason. Second problem is these people are on LTV. So every 2 years they have to go back to their country to renew their visa. And the act says that you have to live in a country for more than 6 years, at least. So the problem is, every 2 years they go back to their country to renew it. So it's not going to be feasible to get the citizenship. For Afghani refugees, of course, they don't want to take citizenship under CA. The reason is they are in India to be here for for a short period because they wanted to move Canada, UK or USA. Okay, once they will get the citizenship of India, they will not get the citizenship of other country. So they just wanted to leverage their refugee status and get settled in other country, bigger country called such as Canada, etc. So they don't wanted to take the citizenship, the Afghani Sikh. So that is the issue. I mean, we have the act, we have the law, but I mean, people himself, they are not, either they are not eligible or either they are not wanted to take the citizenship. And that is the reason that only 350 people, I mean, in recent year, from the day that act got passed, only 350 people got citizenship under the CA. Okay, thank you.